Here there, Rear Admiral Chris Sutherland, the Alcoholic Admiral, joining you from the Admiral's Nook for episode 12. And carrying on in the fitness and wellness discussion, last episode was about fitness and wellness of, kind of moral, spiritual, emotional wellness. Today, I want to speak about physical and nutritional wellness. And I'll make it short because, trust me, and I'll share some dits with you. This one gets really interesting when I start talking about eating more whole food, plant-based vegetables. People get pretty animated when I discuss this. But when I joined the Navy in the late 80s, early 90s, you should have seen what we ate. I mean, it was absolutely, meat and potatoes, lots of grease, and it has evolved, and there are much healthier options available, and that's outstanding. I've noticed, as I age, I was pretty active, but once I hit 30 and beyond, the pounds started packing on, and I'll talk a bit more about that. But you've heard from my previous sharing that in recovery, physical and nutritional wellness, fitness and wellness were, focusing on the health of my body was part of the recovery, what I learned. Do I practice it perfectly? Hell no. Part of my challenge is, I do pretty well eating healthy during the day. I try to eat mostly a whole food, plant-based diet. And I've shared many times with people that I'm not a big fan of vegetables, so what I've taken to do is making veggie smoothies. Here's an example here. This is kale, broccoli. Let's shake it up so it doesn't look quite so nasty. Carrots, tomato, chia seed, flax seed, all kinds of goodness. And this is a whack load of vegetables. And there's berries in there. Sometimes I put additional fruit. This one, I'm not going to lie to you, it tastes like liquid sadness, but it's good for me. So I try to drink one or two of those a day and then eat my regular meals. And I'm good during the day. My problem was, or is, after work, I go home and I eat my feelings. And although I might be eating, vegan snacks or whole food plant-based, well, not, chips are vegan, like technically licorice, it's stuff that doesn't have meat in it is vegan. So I kind of get away with it. And so I have work to do. The journey continues. But what I have learned in my research is that we all want good news about our bad habits, and social media is expert at passing on all of these wonderful tips that, butter sandwich, go for it. Hell, why wouldn't you? It's all good. It's absolutely incredible. And I'll share with you a couple, and I'll put them up on the screen here, of, sources that I actually believe through extensive research. I've been looking at this for almost a decade now. But when it comes to anything physical, fitness-wise, nutritional fitness, again, I'm not an expert. This is just what I've learned through my own research. Obviously, before you do anything, consult with a medical expert, although medical experts don't get a lot of training in nutrition. But I digress. I will offer up, in terms of easy to watch videos, in terms of YouTube and websites, a couple of recommendations that I'll share with you. The movie that helped me better understand what whole food, plant-based eating was like was called Forks Over Knives. It was on Netflix at the time, many years ago. You can still access it over YouTube, and I think it's a fairly balanced look at what whole food, plant-based eating is about. And, what I've learned is that whole food, plant-based is, quite simply, if it has a label, probably not. If it has to tell you what's in it, it's probably not whole food, plant-based. So stick to the outside of the grocery store. That's where the fruits and the veg, and although I try to stay away from meat, that's where it all is. Some of the stuff is in the middle, nuts and beans. Beans are absolutely incredibly powerful and healthy. Once you adopt to them, I'll share a story about beans and something that went horribly sideways at a United Way meeting that I attended after consuming a whack load of beans, but not for this episode. So some of those forks over knives. Game Changers is for the health fitness people. They interview a number of high performance athletes, professional athletes who have adopted more of that whole food, plant-based, um, kind of diet. And then in terms of doctors who really I trust, who I think give an unbiased view of nutrition, there's a few of them that I'll share with you shortly. But a couple other things. In one movie I watched, and let's see if I can do a graphic of, if you were to take us, human form, we've existed on Earth for approximately 200,000 years in this form. You know, our simian ancestors have been here for tens of millions of years, I believe, eating largely whole food, plant based. But if you take us for 200,000 years, we've been on Earth. If you were to map that on a 100-yard football, soccer, whatever pitch, and say, okay, that's 200,000 years over 100 yards. If you were to map out for how long the time that processed food entered into our diet, it is literally less than the length of the end of your fingernail. So not this length, but the width of your fingernail on a 100-yard football field. We've been introduced to processed foods about 70, 80 years ago. And look what it has done to us as a society, the impact it has had on our health. I have learned that, I think 7 or 8 out of 10 of the diseases that are the biggest killers of our society can be addressed by proper nutrition. But there is no big broccoli out there. But there's big meat, there's big dairy, there's big cheese, trying to sell you big eggs, trying to sell you this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a personal choice. What I have learned is that eating whole food, plant-based is kind of, I think, the optimal diet for a long, healthy life. And I would caution, I think that, I said this wouldn't be long, but sorry, I get pre-animated about this. Our life expectancy greatly exceeds our health expectancy. And what do I mean by that is that, we are living long, but once you get to be my age, if you have not taken care of your body, once you hit 40 and 50, things start going pear-shaped in a big bad way. So if you want to have good quality of life when you retire, eating more whole food, plant-based, I assess is the way to go, because that health expectancy starts to thunder in hard. If you ate what I ate back in the day, which was I was crushing the donaires, pretty much Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, chips, chocolate milk, chicken fingers. There was no vegetables going down range up until, I don't know, my 40s. I ate horribly, and it's had consequences. So back to those trusted doctors, the ones that I've seen. Nutritionfacts.org is my go-to. Dr. Michael Greger, I think, is absolutely outstanding. He reads every single English language study on nutrition each and every year, so people like you don't have to. And that's his kind of catchphrase. And he's got a website where you can enter any topic, be it vitamin B12 to eggs to benefits of kale to, hey, can spinach cause issues? And the dreaded friggin' protein question. In my understanding, if you are not eating a starvation diet, you get enough protein. I got pretty good pipes here, so I don't want to brag, and that's largely eating plants. I really like one doctor's recommendation, which is eat real food, not too much, mostly plants. Simple things like that. And there's a great doctor, and I can't remember his name right now, but he says, he adds the love more, that intimacy, that connection to the healthy eating aspect. And that's absolutely part of the equation, which is kind of why I'm dealing with not just physical fitness, it's emotional fitness, moral fitness, and of course, mental fitness. So Dr. Michael Greger, nutritionfacts.org, I'll put up the link. Dr. Neil Barnard is another outstanding doctor, and he's good. He doesn't get emotional. He's very balanced and, again, does a lot of research into nutrition. And there are a few others who I trust. Dr. Caldwell-Esselstyn really helped. There's another gentleman who did the China study way back in the day, which is absolutely incredible. And they're all on forks over knives. So you'll see these people being interviewed on Forks Over Knives, except Dr. Michael Greger for some reason, who was really my go-to guy. Interesting cat. At any rate, I probably shared or overshared too much on the fitness and wellness. I'm not looking forward to the comments because it is deeply personal. But I truly believe we all want good news about our bad habits. Social media is there to fill that void. It will tell you that you can eat all kinds of horrible things and that it's good for you. Well, I did that, and I had a jammer a couple of years ago. I had a heart attack. There are consequences for that kind of eating lifestyle. And I hope to have at least 25 more years on this earth, and I want those to be quality years. Now, and it's incredible learning how to eat whole food, plant-based. The meals are outstanding. They're filling. They're tasty. My brother would disagree. Actually, my whole family would probably disagree. But I encourage you to do your own research. Maybe have a perusal of the people I put up here and see what you think. I ask you to keep an open mind. Approach it without kind of your own agenda and biases, and see where it takes you. But what I have been amazed by, and I'll close with this, is that the body wants to heal, but you have to help it heal. If you hurt your shin, and every day you keep taking a hammer to your shin, well, you're not going to recover. And it's the same thing with eating. If you eat healthy, your body will start recovering in a big bad way. Sorry, in a big good way. But if you keep slamming the burgers and the donaires, you're re-injuring kind of yourself at the cellular level. That's what I've learned. Now, I still eat burgers from time to time. If I go to Halifax, I crush the donaire. And I found a donaire place here in Ottawa, so I'm not going to lie. But by and large, I try to eat that whole food, plant-based diet. So I hope this doesn't, this should be interesting in the comments files. At any rate, I'm going to sign off here. This one went way longer than it should have. Be kind, especially to me in the comment section. Make good choices and stay hydrated. Alcoholic Admiral signing off. Cheers. Thanks.